We're live. How you doing? Welcome to you, the viewer. Welcome to our fantastic panel, which is +1 right now. Theresa Smith not from, Canadian Whiskey Smith is her handle, but she'll tell you more about that in a second. It's the after Dram, and that means it's time to unwind. It's time to put your feet up. Grab a cocktail made by me, or two made by Kent, and that's what we're all about right now. We're relaxing. So, as a quick recap to our evening, Kent, Blair, Davin, and I have been treated to a tour of David's distillery. And Caitlin's been doing a little bit of the heavy work because David's in and out. He's a busy guy. You see, he comes and goes as he has to. Eau Claire's in Turner Valley, Alberta. And we're all now sitting in the lounge. So I got a picture of the lounge there. I'm going to show you for a much anticipated beverage because distillery tours are hard work. So let's do another round of introductions and please tell people what's in your glasses. So Davin, you're first, Blair, and then Caitlin, and then sorry.
I'm Davin. I'm the co-author of this definitive guide to Canadian Distilleries, which is taking us across Canada for this Whisky Book Club tour. And I'm still drinking the Plowman's Rye. Eau Claire Plowman's Rye.
That's lovely.
Blair Phillips, co-author of the definitive guide to Canadian Distilleries. I am enjoying a blonde French from the book. I'm not going to tell you how to make it. You have to buy the book, and it's on page 119.
Blair, really quick question, please. Can you put up that glass?
Yes.
Is that a coupe?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's modified coupe.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
No. I just wanted to know. Thank you, Caitlin.
Hey, I'm Caitlin. I'm master distiller, Eau Claire Distillery, and I'm drinking a can of Spruce Berry Smash, our newest RTD.
By golly.
And what are you drinking it in, or right out of the can?
Right out of the can. I'm not fancy.
Just like Kent. All right, not fancy at all.
How would you describe that?
Hi, I'm Theresa Smith. I'm the Canadian Whiskey Smith, and right now I've got the brand new Eau Claire Stampede Spirit Gin, Barrel Aged Gin, and I just finished doing the 19 distilleries that were in the book, plus a few extra. That map on the inside cover is perfect for getting signatures. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about your tour in a second. Kent, you're up.
Well, also on page 19, I'm not going to show you that, but there you go. You have to buy the book. You can make this. It's absolutely delicious. It is a summer drink in a pitcher is really how you need to make it, not by the glass.
And I'm Dolph. I'm President Alberta Scott Sutton. I'm your host tonight, and I want to put a picture up because I need my friend to see this picture. Where we have the same cocktail, but I need him to see this picture. Now, I don't see cherries in this picture, Ken.
No.
These are grapefruit wedges, I think, in here.
Okay, Dolph.
And if we look in the book, I don't think it says anything about cherries at all.
There we go.
I don't think it says anything about cherries. Now, some of you might know the stories that have been recounted here about my legendary status as a horrible cocktail mixer. Maker? Mixologist? No. Okay. But
Not a mixologist.
I'm not in there. No cherries. And this is mine, which I made. Kent made this for me because he had no faith in me. And they're very similar.
Oh, no way.
Yes, they are. My wife said, no. I'm going to pass them.
Dolph was going to be drinking the same. I had to put some different color into mine because I didn't want mine looking like his.
Oh, great. And I bought this at the distillery on Wednesday. So same thing. I haven't cracked it open yet. And this is my Plowman's Rye. So this is what Davin's having right now. It's in that bottle. And this was I bought it again because they ran out and I waited too long. And then when I finally went to buy it, it wasn't anywhere near me. So I thought I'd be able to get it at the distillery. And Caitlin said, nope, but I'll try to find some for you. But I did find it on my own just outside of where they were. So about a half an hour away from them, I found. So it's great. And I also have the cherry gin. So I bought tons of things that I never really bought. So it's summer. I'm good with summer drinks, but I'm going to stick with my...
Who wants to try the cherry gin, though?
All right. Who does?
Cheryl.
She can have tons of it. Tons. Come on over. Any questions on the side there, Kent, my fine feathered friend?
We actually had one from earlier. We kind of covered a little bit. From Black Cat Whiskey, Caitlin, do you feel as a younger generation of brewer masters, do you bring some different ideas that challenge the stiffness that is assumed to exist in the established whiskey production?
Holy cow. Say that again.
No.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably yes. Like, without intentionally doing it, I think I do. In the sense that I'm not kind of bound by the same rules that a lot of distillers would be, especially like in Scotland. There's very strict whiskey rules. In Canada, it's a bit more lenient. Some would say very lenient, and you can do pretty much anything you want. So it makes for a bit more of a innovative kind of look at it, and you can do what you want within the realms of reasonable sanity.
Excellent.
Okay, and then for Theresa, what was your favorite distillery tour? And there is only one answer.
Well, in terms of distillery tours, actually probably the best one that I had, or one of the best ones, was Righand. They were, I ended up spending like 3.5 hours there.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wasn't sure when I started out on this, even though I messaged ahead of time trying to make sure that I at least tried to make connections with people ahead. I wasn't sure if I was going to show up and there would be nothing. So I planned for it. I knew that there would be some distilleries where I might just get a picture of the book and a picture of the bottle, and that would be it.
And you did.
And I did. Yeah. I mean, you do it, it's about the journey. It's not always about the destination. Mm-hmm. But then there were also some of the places that, because I messaged ahead, they made some concessions for me, which was actually really cool. So Eau Claire was actually the very first stop on the trip. That was last Saturday. And they didn't really there were only the couple of gals in the tasting room, and they were great, though. They knew I was coming. They let me into the back to take a few pictures. I saw the new still, or at least newish, because it's been a little while since I've been out.
Trudy.
Yeah. And yeah, I couldn't believe just how packed and crowded it is there now. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And they said you guys are working on some new spaces, possibly, and
hopefully, like as you saw, there's not a lot of space. So if we don't get more space, I might get a bit claustrophobic.
Put on a second story.
Yeah.
A lot of brothels
new spaces.
Yeah, there you go. Brothels do tend to have an upstairs, so maybe put another floor on.
Here's a new space I'd like you to talk about. Here, it's this one, Alberta Temperance and Moral Reform League. So you see
there
that.
we go.
And we look at it from this direction, and then here we are, and you can tell we're all social distanced. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So in this room, there's pictures about the. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing here, please?
Sure. Do you want to tell them first how funny you thought it was, and you took that picture before you'd even came into the distillery?
Okay. So here's the picture. And my wife and I are on a motorhome trip, an RV trip. We go down south. We're from Edmonton, so we go down. And we're walking around Tuesday night. We're going to meet them at 12 o'clock the next day. So we're walking around town. We see this picture, and I need to have a picture beside it. But then my wife says we probably shouldn't put that on the show because we might insult somebody at this point. And then finally, we're at the distillery, and David said, "Let's go." Well, he looks to Caitlin and said, "Should we go outside?" And Caitlin said, "Sure." So we went outside, and we went into this building. It's like, oh, I get it. But from the outside, if you look at the windows, you can't see through the windows, right? Not at all. So you have no idea what's going on in there, but these are the windows on the inside. So that's one window.
Nice.
And that's the second window. So it shows you historically what it looked like previously. So it's a fantastic idea. It's an interactive. No, I don't want to take your thunder. Please tell us, Caitlin, what is happening in this room?
So, yeah, essentially we own that building as a warehouse, and then with everything that's going on in our lack of space, as Theresa pointed out, we can't really do like our full interactive tour the way we wanted to. We used to have people through the distillery and they could walk past the barrels and see them. All the barrels are off site now because we didn't have space for them anymore. So we wanted to create a visitor experience like a lot of the kind of big distilleries do. So now 2 doors down from the distillery, we have the temperance office. So you walk into the front, you're in the temperance office, you watch a video all about prohibition and why alcohol is bad and all of that kind of stuff. And then at the very end,
video. You should. This lady talks about a temperance movement, and she's talking to her audience like she's trying to get everyone to not drink anymore, and she's taking a little sip every once in a while. She's getting stressed out. It's a fantastic video. It's not done yet. Caitlin said we still have a little bit of work there, but
we're mid construction, so it's not quite. We've like got all the footage, but it needs edited and everything. So there's multiple videos. What Dolph saw was like the very long version of the video that's not been cut down yet. But yeah, so you go in, it's like the temperance office, which is the pictures you saw, and then at the end the doors open and it's a speakeasy in the back. So
and then you get.
Yeah, so yeah, you open the doors, you go into the speakeasy, there's the spiral staircase, as you can see, at the VIP area, which is in mid-construction. And we've got a replica 1920s bar.
Oh, the bar?
And, yeah, there we go. And then there's a massive projector screen and the curtains that you'll show the actual video, like the video of the speakeasy. We've got an actor that's done kind of voiceovers and talks you through the experience. Honestly, I don't want to like go too much in detail because I've not even been through the full experience yet.
You have to tell people about the smell of vision.
Yeah, so David, as always, the innovator of all experiences, has decided that we are going to pump the smell of whiskey into the room. So there will be smoke machines, there will be whiskey smell wafting through so that everyone can have a fully immersed experience of this speakeasy.
And so this is a real at Temperance Hall, is it?
Oh, well, real, yes.
Yeah.
And so Eau Claire whiskey is now matured in a Temperance Hall.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
I bet there are a lot of temperance leaders rolling in their graves right now. Now, you people who live in Edmonton, do you know a woman by the name of Tracy Hyatt? She's got a really fabulous Instagram feed, Tracy Hyatt.
I know Tracy Hyatt.
Well, when I released my first book long ago, actually it's not that one, it's another one. I was scheduled to do Lit Fest in Edmonton. It was my very first literary festival, and I was beyond nervous. So I got up there, I started talking about my book. I'm going to see if I can find it here. This book.
I want to see this.
And I started talking about my book and giving my speech. And Tracy comes out of the audience, and I didn't know her. And she comes up and she's dressed like Nellie McClung, and she's pretending she's Nellie McClung, and she's saying, like, this is the devil's work, and this, and she's really, really, like heckling me like crazy, And she walks right up on the stage and it was fabulous. Well, we kind of got on right away, and I realized what was going on, and it turned into a wonderful performance. I just wanted to take her on the road with me after that because it made that a very exciting event. But so temperance, those were people who didn't really approve of alcohol.
Yep.
And I think that Albertans, those are people who don't really approve of temperance.
Yeah.
Because they certainly, this is the second time I've seen people being disrespectful to the temperance movement. But Tracy, honestly,
but a very important movement because they were promoters of the suffragettes and the women's votes. So without these ladies, a lot of things wouldn't have changed.
I know.
So, but And I asked the same question to David. Are you going to get in trouble? He said no. They've been closed down, so like done since 2003 or 2005. Caitlin, do you remember?
2003, yeah.
Oh yeah. So he said they're gone. We have nothing to worry about. I'm going back to you, Caitlin, though, because in that room you said in all the windows you were going to have artwork. Now I want to talk about the artwork because you guys have beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
So social animals is what I see online and stuff. Can you talk about the artwork just a little bit? Because it's really appealing to me.
Yeah, so we have like a running theme through all our products, and it's social animals. And yeah, I mean, even I don't know if anyone's seen the newest bottle. In fact, I'll get one. Just give me.
We haven't seen it. We still can't see it.
This one?
So yeah, our newest one is the Flourish.
Oh.
So although this is a very different look, we still do have the social animals. We've got a ladybug. There's a ladybug on there, and up in the corner somewhere there is a bee.
Now, Caitlin, what do you mean by social animals?
Yeah.
So social animals is just kind of like our terminology for all of our followers, all of our believers. Everyone that enjoys Eau Claire spirits is a social animal. So we tend to go for Canadian animals and social scenes. So if you look at like the original bottles, the 3 Point, the Parlour Gin, it's all kind of sociable scenes that we have them in. And then we actually changed for the whiskey because we actually did a competition for who could be our artwork for like our artist for the artwork. And again, we wanted to keep the social animal theme, so that's why we've got the fox. But we wanted a nod to the traditional farming.
I actually just noticed on the side of the Stampede Spirit that there's this whole thing called, what kind of social animal are you? And it's got a thing about the, if I can get that to, where's my camera?
Yeah, it's like
guinea pig. There he is.
Yeah, so the Distiller series is our kind of like trial series. So it's for us to play around with, which is why we called it the guinea pig. So that's our guinea pig social animal for our Distiller series where we can try things out.
It's even got like a whole little folklore thing here. That's really cool. I hadn't noticed that yet.
It's like a grown-up Beatrix Potter.
Yeah.
Like I'm going back to my childhood and drinking at the same time.
Well, and then if you look at your cherry gin bottle, we've actually got the nursery rhyme, which I'm very familiar with being British. And it's about magpies, like one for sorrow, two for joy, but it's the old Victorian version of it. So that's the magpie, the social animal for that.
And I've been doing this a while, but Theresa, I'm still having a hard time. So it's no big.
I feel like it's because you're opposite.
Blair, I'm going to get you involved a little bit there, buddy. You're a resident cocktail expert. Did you create the Blonde French, or did you do that with them? Did you have any part with the Blonde French?
No, I had nothing to do with it. I just nothing.
Okay.
Went to we went to the distillery and we talked to them about what would work best with this beast right here, and that cocktail was the one that was different than everything else that we had collected by that point, and we ran with it.
It's pretty tasty.
It's amazing.
I'm going to ask you another question, Blair. When you see something like that, actually no, let's go a different route. You're into a place like Eau Claire, and there's a vast history to Eau Claire. They link lots of kind of facets into their persona, so lots of history. Do you think of names for cocktails? Do you think of things to put in cocktails when you're there? Because I'm wondering if this is part of your process when you're visiting a distillery.
No, that all comes later on. As I mentioned, I prefer when I'm at the distillery just to focus on the spirits they make and what they do, and what comes next is something that I play around with at home at a later time.
Okay. Those are those late nights, 12 o'clock at night. The kids are in bed. Your wife's in bed. I'm going to make some cocktails.
Yeah, 6 in the morning, that kind of thing, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
6 in the morning.
You haven't gone to sleep. It's a perfect thing to do. Kent, buddy, Anything from the side?
We've got a few different things. Mostly the conversation is feeding itself on the side tonight. So.
That's all right. Let them cannibalize themselves. And we'll talk to Theresa. Theresa.
Yes. Hello.
I'd like to know how you picked up Davin's book and then you decided to do the tour, or vice versa.
Well, it was sort of a bit of a thing.
Blair's book, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, as Davin mentioned, we met a couple of years ago for the first time at Banff Whisky Experience. And that was when he was running around supporting his other Canadian whiskey tome. And I was a real fan. We've connected and stayed in touch online. And earlier this year, he sent me a message. He's like, hey, so I have a new book coming out. And I would like to send you a copy. And so I was like, oh, okay. He's like, the only thing I ask is that you maybe post a little something about it when you get it. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. So when the book showed up, I'm expecting something more like that one, and was like, oh, okay. I open it up. I post about getting it. And then I'm like looking through, I'm like, well, this isn't really a reading book. I mean, there's lots to read in it, but it's like, this is a tour. Yeah, like this is a tour book.
Yeah.
And so, like I think I mentioned before we got live here, I was supposed to be in Texas this week, and yeah, that didn't happen. So, and probably a good thing.
Good thing. Yes.
Yeah. I think it was a very good thing, actually.
Yes. So I had already been thinking, I'm like, I'd like to. At some point, I should get out to all of these distilleries and go and at least take a picture, even if I can't get in the door or there's nobody there. Like, Black Velvet has an electric fence that goes all the way around it. At least I'm assuming the fence had these little black boxes at various intervals. So I'm assuming it's electrified. I didn't touch it to find out. I'm like, I can't figure out how to get in, but I'll take a picture.
Now, so if you were a boy, what would another boy tell that boy to do to that?
Just touch. It's a good thing I went alone on some of these, because somebody probably would have dared me to touch it for sure.
Shock the first person.
And you know what? I did the same thing as you, trying to see some distilleries on my way back up. Yeah. And what's the one in High River? Just completely closed down. I would. Nothing happening there.
Well, they actually, there were people buzzing around outside, and they actually had a doorbell, and so I went up and I rang the bell.
Yeah.
And somebody came out, and I said, "Oh, hey, I have this book, and I'm doing this tour. Is there somebody who could sign the book for me?" Thinking that maybe that gal who answered the door would just sign it. And she's like, well, I don't really know who I'd get, but let me see if my boss is around. So she goes inside. I don't know who her boss is. Nice. She goes inside, and a few minutes later, this guy comes out, and it's the general manager of Highwood Distillers.
Nice.
And he's worked there for like the last 15 years. And so we went across the street. He signed my book. We talked for a couple of minutes. He's like, we don't really do tours, but we do private type things. So, but not right now because COVID and blah, blah, blah. But, when you come back, when things are more normal, we could probably arrange something. I'm like, oh, that's... Done. Way more. I just thought I was going to take my chances and push the bell.
I did the same thing and no one came out, but I went there about a month.
They learned after they answered the door, and it was me.
Yeah, I was before you. I was about a month ago, and there was no movement at all. Nothing.
They had trucks going in and out the back, so there was buzz happening around the distillery at least. So maybe that's a good thing. So.
Teresa,
yeah,
how useful was that book in planning a tour?
It was great, actually. I mean, part of it was being able to have the list, but then also at the beginning of each section, of course, it's got the map part with everything down below. And then when I was reading through too and flipping through it kind of gave that list of, the closest distillery is this one, and it's about this much time to travel. And then I used Google Maps to help me plan out certain things. So I was able to use this to help group things. And then I used Google Maps when I was actually doing the traveling. But yeah, it was great to be able to have a little little tidbits as well. Some of the things that I could ask people about when I was at distilleries. And
I'm really glad you called it a travel book, because that was the whole idea. This is for armchair travel, or for people to get out and see distilleries, to make it really easy for people to get to the next one and to have a good idea. And we really wanted to talk about the people at the distillery, so you know who was there. You kind of could ask intelligent questions, and I know it was really a lot of planning, like getting that sidebar at the side so we can get masses of information into a very small space, and then have a narrative that just kind of introduced you to the distillery. So I was just tickled when I saw that you were using this to plan a tour, and you had a map. I think you posted a map on Instagram that was the map from our book with your route on it or something like that. But anyway,
I probably did at some point. Something else that I did is that when I was going along, every once in a while I pick something up. So like I picked up the little clover leaf and stuck it inside, and the book is thick enough that it helps to press. So
I picked up bottles. It's not really the same thing.
Oh, I did. I
saw what you picked up. I thought.
So, Davin,
that's a genuine 3-leaf clover.
Yeah. A genuine 3-leaf clover from and I even I grabbed. Oh, let's see. I got little flowers, and I got some sage.
Oh, sage.
Wild Alberta sage.
Already.
I was going to grab an Alberta rose, but then I realized I was inside the Banff Park borders. I'm like, I shouldn't. They frown on that. I should wait till I get back to Canmore, and then I forgot. But
yeah.
So if you're going to rank, if you take the top 10 most rewarding experiences of your life, where would you rank this tour using this book?
Wedding, childbirth. I don't know.
What if it's not in the top 10?
It's hard to put to rank those kinds of things empirically, but I mean, this has definitely been one of the coolest experiences. I remember growing up, and anybody who's spent all their life growing up in Alberta remembers the Take an Alberta Break campaign, right? Yep. And so have been hearing little rumblings about that, and people talking about taking an Alberta break and really focusing on that over the last few months, right? As we start to open things up, but know that we can't really travel a lot of places. It's like, you know what? There are tons of things to do here. There are tons of things to see. So that was part of what I did as well, is that it wasn't just planning the distillery tours. It was then taking a look at what else can I see on the way. So I stopped in Vulcan and got a picture with the Starship Enterprise. I took a drive out, and I'm knocking things off the wall. I really haven't had that much to drink yet. But I took a drive out to Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. Yep. I could have looked ahead of time and found out that, they're closed. But it's a road trip. It's about the journey. It's not about the destination. So I really didn't care. I found out through whiskey people on Instagram that, in Lacombe, there's the world's largest fish hook.
Yep.
So after I finished up at Troubled Monk, because unfortunately, of course, Old Prairie Sentinel made it in the book. Unfortunately, they've since closed. Kent, met up with Kent in Edmonton. He had a couple of bottles, so I was able to at least get a photo of Old Prairie Sentinel bottles with the book. But I wasn't able to visit the distillery there, so I made a substitution. Red Deer is close enough. Hit Troubled Monk, went up to Lacombe, saw the fish hook.
Nice. When were you at Troubled Monk? Because I was there 2 days ago.
I was at Troubled Monk on Tuesday.
Oh, I missed you by 2 days. Okay.
Good. And they had like the best outdoor social distancing pagodas, like those little gazebos with the tables in them.
And they're really well spaced out, and you feel very secure.
Private.
Yeah.
Hey, it was like they designed the whole place as if COVID was about to happen. And they have both beer, soda, and booze.
Yep.
And Tell me about Bridgeland. Tell me about Bridgeland.
Oh. What's that? Sorry, Caitlin?
No. Davin was wondering about Bridgeland.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was talking to Caitlin.
Yeah.
Is
Separate.
that
That is the non-bourbon bourbon.
made with Tabor corn?
Bourbon.
Bourbon, B-E-R bon.
Yeah.
So it's the Tabor corn spirit. It is I can't remember the specifics. It's something like 50 some odd percent corn, 30 some odd percent malted barley, and the rest is wheat. And so went in, actually was there yesterday, spent another 2 or 3 hours hanging out. One of the owners actually was kind enough. He was on site and I showed up with some friends. He took us in the back, gave us a quick little tour, and then they are actually, so they opened to the public, their tasting room opened in August last year, but they've been laying away spirit for a while. And they have this program where on the 1-year anniversaries, they're releasing their single malt spirit. So they have the new make, they have the 1-year spirit, and that's just coming up for release in the next couple of weeks. It is being proofed down as we speak. He took us in the back, drew out, took the whiskey thief with him, and we got to sample some of that 1-year-old single malt before it goes into the bottle. And that was a pretty cool experience, actually.
That's what Aaron did when they first opened. Aaron Distillery in Scotland. They did that. And they released the 1 and 2-year-old at cask strength. What would be cask strength? And man, it was firewater. It was pretty exciting.
That would be cool.
What else is there to do? What else is there to do in Turner Valley?
Oh, so Turner Valley is pretty extensive now. I mean, we're fairly small. We were the first in a tourist attraction. Well, I say the first. There's a gas plant out there. We do a combined tour with the gas plant, which is not operational anymore, but it's pretty cool to see one of the kind of original gas plants. Also, there's a brewery in Turner Valley, Far. I don't know if anyone's heard of Far.
Yes.
It makes really good beer. It's all to German purity laws and everything. So we have quite a lot of conversations back and forth. I help him out, he helps me out. And we go down there for Far Fridays, as the staff call it. And then in Black Diamond, there's Hard Knocks Brewery as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a really good ice cream shop in Black Diamond.
Marv's.
It is.
Marv's. She knows it well.
Yeah.
Caitlin,
And they have the Black Diamond.
Yes.
Caitlin, little question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering this before, and you kind of skimmed over it, but I want a little bit more precision if I can.
Yep.
So David petitioned Harriet Watt and picked you because you're the top of your class. You're like the shining star. But that can't be all. You joked on YouTube that you got picked because you had dual citizenship. I want to know why you think he picked you.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, is it maybe the accent? Is it maybe having some Scottish take in your whiskey?
Okay. No, you're pushing to the
Accent
side.
is pretty cute.
What do you think he saw in your interview that made him decide to take a chance on you with his distillery? Because this is his baby. This is it. He's searching for someone because he knows the guy that he brought in to start the distillery is taking off.
Yeah.
Both guys that he brought into the distillery, he's shoving off to the side, or they're leaving.
Yeah.
He's picking you. You are it to bring his distillery forward. I want to know what you think he picked you for.
Honestly, like, I would love to hear David answer this question because I don't know why he picked me. I imagine it's because I actually have the education part of it. Like, it's not really. I don't know. Like, I have the chemistry background. I have the brewing and distilling. So I'm actually educated in brewing and distilling. Not necessary for this industry, but a benefit. And probably, like, I don't know, maybe it's my age, maybe it's my gender. Like, you never know. Like, it'd be a David question more than anything. Like,
maybe something there, but you like being innovative. That's a huge thing. I see that in every interview with you, every paper that I see that's there. The journal said it. Everything on YouTube, it's all about you and how you love to be innovative. Yeah. That's where I think it kind of might have been.
Like, maybe, like, you never know. Like, when you do an interview, you don't know how you come off. Like, you're doing, and especially I'm doing an interview while I'm still in university. I was 24 at the time. I have no idea what he thought. Like, you're sitting there completely nervous doing an interview via Skype.
Right.
And it was, I think, like 8 o'clock at night for me because of the time difference. So I'm doing this interview. I don't know. Like, I'm nervous. 24. It's my first real job. Like, I've had jobs throughout university and everything, obviously. But going into your first real job in the anticipation of moving to a different continent.
Right.
Also, I'd been born in Canada. I knew nothing of it. Like, I'd been there on holidays and stuff, but it's not like I'd ever lived in a different continent. So I don't know. Like, I obviously came across well because I got the job. But yeah, like, I did my master's with Edinburgh Gin. So we did their seaside gin recipe for our master's thesis. So maybe it was that kind of thing. Like, it's recipe development, it's innovation, it's a new type of product that we brought out. So maybe it was that.
And who's the other master distiller? The one after you? What's his name again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Daniel Gowrie. So Danny, and he worked multiple places. He's worked for William Grant and Sons, both in the lab and at Hendrick's Gin. And he also worked at a smaller distillery in Callander in Scotland called McQueen Gin. And he worked another one in Glasgow Distillery.
Were you in on the interview for him? Could you consider him your underling? Is what I'm trying to think.
So the hierarchy at the distillery, like, I'm head distiller, he's distillery foreman, and then we have a packaging manager. So it's like me, and then they two, and then they have their teams.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. I know I put you on the spot a bit there, Caitlin. I'm sorry. It's
fine. It's fine. It's just I don't know why David hired me, but it's good they did because clearly it's worked.
And you're happy where you are, you said.
Oh, I love it. Love every day.
You're really happy you're there too. Now, Eau Claire's made tons of different expressions. I've shown you some. Blair and Davin, can you think of another distillery somewhere in Canada? Let's go west now. Let's think in the future for us that have done so many that they release prolifically. Is there someone like that you can think of?
Does it have to be west?
East.
Okay.
Golf means east.
Sorry, no, east is what I tried to say. Davin, you're absolutely right. We're going east. East.
I think, well, from our research, Weingarten Estates in New Brunswick and Bayvale, they're probably have the most releases on the shelf at the moment. Like, they're in a few dozen kind of thing. They're just very prolific. They're making all kinds of fruit schnapps, all kinds of German spirits, and they're kind of like an unsung hero. They're not really talked about because you don't see them outside of New Brunswick, but they're crazy. They're crazy with their prolific status in terms of even making wine and spirits. They have tons, like shelves and shelves of different expressions. When we were working on the book, and I sent out a note to them asking, can you send me something to taste so we can just do a tasting note? They sent me a box of about 15 or 20 spirits, and that was just cracking what they wanted to give us. They had several others that they didn't include.
Ken, there's a question on board for you, I think.
Sorry, I'm answering multiple questions here.
No, I see it online.
Go to our website, Nick. If you want to know about more distilleries than are in the book, go to our website. It's CanadianDistilleries.com.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't really mentioned this before. Well, we have in passing, but look in the back of the book because there are distilleries back there. And on my way back, up north, I passed 2 distilleries which were in the back of the book, and one of them are closed.
Yeah, we have at least 50 distilleries listed in the back of the book. We didn't have a profile for them, but they're in the back of the book as well. So yeah, there are more distilleries than I think we profiled 200 and
I can
another 55 or 56 in the back.
Yeah, in Alberta we profiled 19, and I think there's maybe a dozen in the back of the book. And then on our website, on the update page, it adds up to the 37 that Dave Gardner mentioned in the site comment. So yeah, CanadianDistilleries.com, and we have an updates page, and we're trying to plug in every single new distillery that opens.
So Theresa, did you use the back of the book as well on your tours, or?
I I actually didn't know about that little. I knew about the distillery checklist section.
Yep.
But I missed that distillery additions section. However, I had found the website, so I knew that there were some. So that was what I used. So I did all of the distilleries that were in the book.
Mhm.
I did those actually in about 6 days. And so that freed me up for day 7, which was yesterday. And on day 7, I did bonus distillery day. And so because I'm based in Calgary, I tried to get, I ended up with 4 more distilleries that I hit. So by the time it was all said and done, I ended up with close to 24 distilleries in 7 days, which was fun. But yeah, the website was definitely helpful.
That's got to be a Canadian record.
Cursed you all the way through your trip because it's something we've been planning for a while, and we just haven't done the time off. And it's like, damn, she's here. Damn, she's there. Damn.
And like I had always, like when I got the book and saw that it was really a travel book, I had thought, well, I should visit these places. I hadn't really thought about doing it all in a week. And then when Texas didn't happen, it was like, well,
yeah,
I could.
Why not?
Why not? And then I came home with a whole lot of new things for my collection.
You know what? That's okay. Yes. That's fine. We have to say to ourselves, it's okay to pamper ourselves with a little bit of liquid love.
Well, and it's nice when you go to places like, Hanson, and they've got
adorable.
These little mini.
They were talking about doing that a while back, and then I didn't realize they had finally started that.
Yeah, and then at the fort, they've just started to release these. They may not even be at retail yet, but they're at the distillery. They have these little mini bottles of premixed cocktails. I'm like, that was actually one of the things that I love about doing a distillery tour. Is that that purple castle is interesting.
It's so sweet. Oh my God.
Yeah. Is that when you get to a distillery, there are often things, especially with some of the newer ones, that they aren't even available anywhere else. And so as somebody who likes that unicorn experience, I want something that nobody else has or that the world hasn't necessarily seen. I just get excited with that. So it's great to be able to go and get that experience firsthand.
Any distillery only stuff at Eau Claire?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the Stampede Gin. I think they've got it at the distillery and their farmers market booth.
And the farmers market, yeah. It's
that's
distillery exclusive.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the things.
Can you tell us a little bit about this one? Because I find it really interesting.
For sure, yeah.
Because it's kind of the end of your rye, kind of. Right?
Yeah, so what we did when we released our Ploughman's Rye last Canada Day, and then we aren't producing any rye anymore, and we don't have the equipment for it anymore. We upscaled all of our single malt equipment and don't have a cereal cooker anymore, basically. So we couldn't make the rye anymore. So we had these barrels that previously had rye. We weren't sure what to do with them. We could put single malt in them. We weren't sure about that. So we decided to put gin in them. So it's been in for 8-9 months by the time we bottled it. So it's our parlour gin, but in the rye cask, so it pulls some of that rye flavour, which I think is really interesting because we did a barrel aged gin a couple of years ago, and we did it in our ex single malt casks. So it had that kind of single malt twist to it.
But it was very different than this one. Yeah. I found that first one a little bit more. It was gin and it was barrel influence, and they were very distinct. It was weird because it was very distinct flavors in the glass. This one feels more like just cohesive in a very different way. It just is it has a unity to it that's just
And I think that's what I
Tasty.
like is like we did the last one, so it was ex bourbon barrels that were our ex single malt, so they'd been used multiple times by the time we put the gin in it. So it wasn't as fresh a cask, whereas we use new American oak for our rye, and then filled that with gin, so it pulled the rye flavour out, and the cask was still fairly fresh because it was a new oak cask, so it's pulling a lot more of the flavour from the cask as well.
Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah, like
I know somebody's
and, like,
asking. Dave's asking if it's available online for sale. Can you
It's
order
not.
direct from the distillery?
It's not. You can only get it at the distillery or at the farmers market. That's kind of the beauty of our distiller series. It's like you have to be there to get it, and you might not see it ever again. We might produce it again, but it was like one of those ones we had this spirit, and I just put gin in it. We didn't plan to release it this year by any means. We put gin in, and then it tasted really good, and we're like, well, we'll bring it out. And it's easiest for us to put it through the tasting room in the farmers market because we can get it straight out.
Okay. Good thing you're only
Blair,
1.5 hours away.
Yeah.
Blair, I think I interrupted you before. You were going to say something?
Oh, I noticed that Black Cat Whiskey asked about bootlegger, historical information about bootleggers, moonshine runners, and stuff. We have a bit of that in our book, but when Davin and I were traveling, we came across a pile of stories, and they just started getting shaved off of the final copy. So we've been knocking around the idea of doing another project a bit later about incorporating some of that stuff.
I would add, I was just at Romero, which is a rum distillery here in Calgary. And they actually have dedicated a whole section of their tasting room to going to covering some of the rum running history of Alberta.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which I had no idea existed. And apparently there are tunnels. There are tunnels in the Crow's Nest Pass that run to BC and Montana. And you can go and visit these places. And I had no clue. I go to the Crow's Nest Pass. I visit the Frank Slide. I had no idea that there were bootlegging tunnels in no.
Well,
I had no idea.
Davin,
I know about these.
Yeah, we visited a spot, and we were kind of on this ridge overlooking, I think, the States, right, Davin? And these dudes were on a ranch, and they're looking at us with binoculars, like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" So we're looking at them, they're looking at us, and we're just like, "Hey, we're just here to check out Crow's Nest Pass and explore the history behind it." But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now
we walked down to that creek and there was a big sign there, like, keep out, no entry, things like
stop.
But the sign was old and faded, so we figured we'll take a chance and walk down to the creek. We kept waiting for shots to ring out, but they didn't. Anyway.
Yeah,
you were entering a very unstable area.
Did you bring whiskey to pour over a grave or something like a grave? You've done this before, so I think maybe a tradition.
We walked down this one path and took the chance to see what happens. And there were people looking at us, and we don't know who they were or what they were doing, but whatever, who cares? But are they actually making rum at that place, or are they?
They are. So actually, it was so exciting because tomorrow. So I had no clue. My thing is whiskey. I don't know a lot about rum. I didn't know that in Canada, rum has to age a minimum of 1 year in order to be labeled as rum. So they have been distilling since last year. They do have some young spirit that they have been oaking with barrel chips. However, tomorrow marks the 1 year anniversary of their spirit being in the barrel.
Oh.
And so, yes, July 12th of last year is when it went in the barrel. So they have already pulled those casks down. They are sitting ready for blending. They are getting ready to release their spiced rum middle of August. And they are going to release their dark rum in probably September. Their unspiced rum, so their regular amber rum, they actually want to finish that with sherry barrels. And they went on a buying trip last year. In the end of the year, they have those barrels showing up soon. So they are going to have a Spanish sherry aged rum, and they want to age it for at least 3 months in those sherry casks. So probably November, December, there will be a sherry cask aged rum coming out of Romero's. So that is actually really exciting to see. They are bringing some stuff out very, very soon.
Nice.
Cool.
We didn't buy this.
Brothers and sisters, Caitlin, you and I, it's good. I don't know if I'm supposed to have it in this, but that's what my wife put in it. Caitlin, 2 questions. One, actually, it's an easy one. How often do you work with other distillers within the province? And you told me about someone that helped you out from BC. And I won't say anymore. Just what do you do with other distillers in our community? I'm saying Canada West, Alberta, BC.
So yeah, like due to the nature of us being the first distillery, we don't work too much with other distillers other than like a kind of like, do you have a supplier for this? Do you have a supplier for that? We're all very vocally, like we all speak to each other, and I'll get messages from other places like, what bottle supplier do you use? Where do you get your botanicals? Stuff like that. We haven't done any collaborations as such as of yet. But because we're kind of the first one, we started our program with Old College. So actually, so Daniel, who is one of the owners at Bridgeland, he did the Old College program, who do their practical through Eau Claire. So I trained him for a week at Eau Claire on the practical side of things. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of the kind of prospective distillers that come through and learn process from us. I think probably because we do have 3 master distillers, we've all worked in various distilleries and stuff like that. So we kind of know how to work equipment and how to get around all of that kind of stuff. But other than that, like it's not quite as similar as like brewing, where all the brewers kind of collaborate and make beers. Whiskey and spirits, they're a bit more complicated and it takes a bit more effort. So we don't tend to collaborate. And from what I've seen, distillers tend to be way busier than brewers. So we don't really have the time to just wonder about each other's distillery.
Okay. Well, I was thinking maybe it was more competitive, or maybe it's not. You're still helping each other, but
yeah, like I don't know if it's competitive. On my level, it's not at all. Like I could phone up any one of them and be like, "Run out of juniper, can you help me out?" And they'd be like, "Yes, sure. Here's a bag of juniper." Like on the production level, there's no competitiveness at all. Like I would help any one of them. I've spoke to the wildlife guys about their barrel program and excise reporting and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I talk to everyone. And we all are very collaborative in that sense, but we just haven't actually like collaborated on like a spirit that we're going to release or anything.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Davin, Blair, why do they want to help each other at this point in time? Let's say distilleries or breweries, we could do either one. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't seem like they're in competition all that much. Why?
Well, I personally think until recently, distilleries, even micro distilleries, have been spaced far enough apart where competition isn't really a big factor. But also now, if you look at, I'll take Alberta for instance, where Edmonton and Calgary have this big cluster, there's a bit of a strength in numbers. So if you want change from the government and you have a bunch of distilleries ganging up on them, so to speak, you're going to get heard from them at least.
And my wife says rising tide floats all boats all the time. And I'm thinking that might be their thought process. I'm wondering if it changes at any point in time. So, Davin, let's go historically. How much did they help each other way back when? And because in this book, we read about the competition, but we don't read about them helping each other as much. Yeah. And I'm wondering, is it because they were so big? I think
the first real commercial distillery in Canada was Molson's.
Yep.
And Thomas Molson used to go to every distillery. And and you can see they talk to each other about getting stills and what they should do and things like that. But Canadian whiskey is such a massively huge market now. I mean, it's been the biggest market, the biggest whiskey in North America until 2010 when bourbon took over. But even now, Canadian whiskey sells more than Scotch and Irish and bourbon all combined. If you look at all of North America together, and I think that it's very competitive. I mean, these guys want their bonus, so it means they want to sell out. So when I started writing my very first book, this book, they just did not talk to each other at all. And getting in to see those distilleries was really difficult, and it was really something else. But I think that people talk more, but there is a lot of really proprietary information. And I know that I'm very careful because there are things that I know about some distilleries that I can't. I need to know that in order to understand what they're doing. But if I ever said what was going on, that would be the last time I ever got an interview. But I think with the small distillers, it's different because they are a microscopically small part of the market. Think about Canadian.
Really important, Caitlin.
Pardon me. They're way less than 1% of the market. You think that about Canada selling 200 million bottles of whiskey to America every year, and all the small distillers put together don't make 2 million bottles of whiskey every year. So it's really a microscopically small part. And as Blair said, yes, strength in numbers. Now you notice when you're reading in the media, in the press, you're always reading about the small distilleries. You never read about the big distilleries anymore because, of course, writers, Blair and I are writers, we know, you want to write about something new. And I remember somebody telling me once, it was an editor actually from Whiskey Advocate magazine, said, nobody wants to hear another story about Glenfiddich, but write about some little distillery that they've never heard of, and you've got them. You've got them for the whole page, maybe for 5 pages. So there's so much interest in small distillers, and they really, perhaps they feed off each other, but they certainly feed into each other's popularity because you can get a real good story. And when you look at the book that we did, we've got maps of tours. You could never do a distillery tour in Canada before because the distilleries were so far apart.
And that is one of the things that really bothers me, especially about some place like Alberta Distillers, is like when I'm reading through the book and seeing that they were founded in 1946. They are a post-war institution.
Uh-huh.
And they're massive. I mean, they're in Calgary, and I'm in Calgary, and I've never driven past them until I went and did this project. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe the scope and the scale. And I'm like, they're owned by Beam Suntory. Beam understands what distillery touring is about. I mean, Kentucky Bourbon Trail is a huge thing. Why isn't that being done? Even the other 2 big commercial ones, Black Velvet and Highwood, they've been around since the 70s.
Yep.
Why don't they have interpretive centers? Like, for goodness sakes.
Think of 3 things. Number 1, Kentucky Bourbon Trail. You can visit 3 or 4 distilleries in one day. In Canada, you can only visit 1. So you're not going to draw tourists to see a distillery if it's only 1 distillery. Number 2, think of health and safety.
There's like 200.
Think of health and safety regulations.
Yeah.
If you go into Alberta Distillers, you'll see they have a pot still, which you would never recognize. It's packed in insulation this thick so nobody burns himself on it. Yeah, it's not glamorous. Think number 3, you have to hire somebody to conduct those tours. These are factories. These are working distilleries. You have to arrange them in such a way that the visitors don't get in the way. And if you go to Glengoyne, there are places you cannot go because you're getting in the way of the workers. And you have an entirely different insurance if you are bringing people on site, because you can get injured in a distillery. You can get burned. You can get hurt. If you go into a warehouse, barrels can fall on your feet. And, so that you have to wear glasses. You have to wear steel-toed boots, things like that. Those aren't the distilleries that make up those rules. That's Canada's regulations. regulating industries. You go into a small distillery like Eau Claire, which, by the way, I would recommend anybody who goes to anywhere close to Calgary, drive down to Turner Valley and go to Eau Claire. They got a wonderful, wonderful tasting lounge, interesting things to see, but you're not going to get hurt there.
Yeah.
Things are going on. There are enough people on site.
Some people do.
There are enough people on site that somebody's there to talk to you. They welcome you. They make money through selling merchandise as well as through selling booze. They make money through their tasting room. It's worth their while, but they need to employ these people. If you go to a major distillery, it's a whole new business line having visitors. And if you're only going to get 30 visitors a day, it's just not worth your while hiring someone to do it.
I guess there are ways to do it. And that's one of the things, like even, to talk about some of the big guys who aren't in Alberta, JP Weiser's, I mean, they have a tour experience that you can go in and do. I only know that because I've looked on their website because I want to go and do the Dr. Don's blending program.
I was going to bring that up next because yes, one evening a month, you can go in there and go to that thing. And I have to say, I've done that. And if you ever get a chance, if you're within 1,000 miles of Windsor, drive to Windsor and do Dr. Don's blending class. It is phenomenal, and you learn so much. It's wonderful. It's just awesome. It's really great. But the thing is, the only big distillery that does tours regularly is 40 Creek, and that's because they have a great big massive liquor store on site. They've got merchandise. They've got everything. It's worth their while, and they are on the wine tour trail. So they get limousines pulling in full of people who are half drunk already on wine, coming in to see how whiskey's made and drink a couple. So it's a different business model. It's a different business model.
Guys, I'm just going to interrupt. We've hit the 1 hour point. So we're going to bring this to an end really close. But we're still going to stick around. We're still going to talk after this. We settled on 1 hour each one. So we're going to So guys, this has been a memorable episode, and this went really, really, really fast. And I've got to say, we missed David, and I know he's listening to us. So, hi, David. And if you could possibly come in and we can hear every third word, it's still okay. It's all right. But this has been one that I hope everyone else has enjoyed. We've had so many personalities on with us tonight, 3 different personalities other than the 3 of us that have been on here a lot. And Kent has been making fun of me forever, so I'm kind of used to him. But what I'd like to say now is just this. So we're holding up a glass. Here's, I need my book as well in the other hand, so I always have to plan this. Here's the good company. Here's the good cocktails. Here's the good book, and here's the good conversation. I thank all of you. It was a fantastic night. Here's to seeing all of you next week, and this is different. Friday, July 17th at 12 o'clock noon. I'll say it again. Friday, July 17th at 12 o'clock noon for our Whisky Book Club Canadian Whiskey Journey Last Mountain Edition. So this was a hard one to actually nail down. We finally did. Next Friday, 12 o'clock. And if you don't see us live, that's okay. You'll watch us later. Mostly people all do anyway. So I want to say have a fantastic night, everybody. Thank you very much for everything. And sláinte.
Cheers.